Hi. Um, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Really appreciate you coming. Today, what I wanted to talk about, I think, is the beginning of a very long conversation. I hope it's a two-way conversation or a multi-way conversation. Um, I wanted to share some very private stuff about my story, in the hope, because I've been told that what I have to say, what I've experienced, what I've learned could be a lot of help to people who are facing similar challenges to what I've faced in my life and could learn and grow. So, in that spirit, I'll share. Um, I was born into kind of a classic middle class family. Lived in the suburbs. My parents were from a rural area, but they moved to the big city for work and that sort of thing. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I was born in the '60s. So, as I grew up, as like many of us, our families aren't perfect. There's dysfunction and things of that nature. Mine wasn't anything severe, but uh, let's just say my mom was controlling, and the net result was I had some trauma without realizing it, and I grew up acting way older than my age, um, probably feeling older than my age, not really having fun, feeling that it was my job to, um, I don't know. I don't know what I felt really, but bottom line was whatever it was really started to become evident as I got to my teen years. I became depressed and I became withdrawn. And by the time I got to my 11th grade, I don't even remember 11th grade. It was a complete blur to me. Even in my memories now, I don't remember it. I didn't do drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I was just so depressed. I went to school and I went home. Um, I didn't participate in anything. I never went to a dance. I never went to a ball game. I never went on a date. Um, I just wanted to get out of that damn place. I hated school. I hated it. My parents wanted me to go to a new school, but I didn't want to because I felt like it wouldn't matter. A school's a school. It would always be the same. And if I went to a new place, I wouldn't even have what few friends I had there. So I held on. It was a public school. And my experience had a huge impact on me in terms of how I handled my own kids' education, by the way. Uh, so by the time I graduated early, I took summer class, and it was interesting. In the summer class, I it was there was like a few people in the class who were graduating early, and these were the smarter kids, and then there were a bunch that were failing and had to take it to graduate, and those folks were in the back of the room. You could definitely tell who was who, and they were making fun of us and joking about us up in the front. But I sat next to a kid that I had seen for years, but didn't really know. I just knew he was supposed to be really smart and that he was originally from Spain, though he didn't have an accent. And I sat next to him, and we started. I'd never done well in English. I always scored in the 98th, 99th percentile on my standardized tests, but my grades were mediocre, B's, you know. And suddenly, with this guy next to me, I started excelling in this class. I'd never done well in English in my life. It was always boring to me. I got like 103 average in that class in the summer. And it wasn't because I was interested in the subject, it was because we were competing to see who could do more. It was fun. I had fun. Um, I liked summer school. After that, I didn't want to go to college right away because I was sick of school. I got a job. I worked as a laborer at some guy's farm. It was pretty pathetic, but it was different, and I did it. I had a lot of anxiety. And that's what I'm going to get into later. Um, I had anxiety about driving. Driving anywhere was very stress producing. I found that driving in the country was much easier for me. And I used to take the drives in the country and even enjoyed it, even though driving was anxious, anxiety producing. But I never drove in the city, and I avoided driving in the suburbs as much as possible. Um, I was incredibly too anxious to talk to women, girls, and then those days. Um, it was I couldn't even think of doing it, and I didn't took it for granted to the point where I never even thought much about it. That I always knew the one thing I always wanted was to date or to have a girlfriend, but the idea of actually doing anything about that was absolutely terrifying. I mean, I just couldn't even consider it. Um, I was always pretty smart. People knew I was, but never happy. Uh, let's see. I'm telling you this to give you a little bit of background about my childhood because we all have a story and we all have sources and things that created some traumas and that creates barriers in our life today without us really realizing it. Sometimes those barriers manifest as anxiety or depression or lack of motivation or making the same mistake over and over or being triggered in our relationships or at work or whatever in ways we don't know why. And sometimes it's because we have old crap buried in our psyche from injuries we had when we were much, much, much younger that we haven't dealt with. And until we deal with them, that stuff will just keep coming back over and over and over. Um, it was much, much later in my life, after a marriage that wasn't working, 4 kids, um, that I realized that I just wasn't happy and I had to do something. I just could not do it anymore. I could not. Up until then, I had been just hunkering down and carrying a lot of emotional weight, and I was also carrying physical weight on my body, and that kind of mirrored the emotional weight that I carried, and that weight was I didn't process pain. I just was like a ball. I was hard. My muscles were hard all the time. And I just dealt with whatever came. I did the best I could. I always put off till tomorrow enjoyment. I saved, and I actually did pretty well financially as a result. Um, Found myself much better off than most of my peers relatively early, and got bored. Worked for a few years with my dad, got bored, and then went to law school, even though I had no interest in law, and was like top of my class because it challenged me and I was bored. Sort of reminds you of my summer school, doesn't it? I got around smart people and suddenly I started excelling. But I after I found myself, in an unhappy marriage, going to counseling, therapy, couples therapy, and not having any success, I started going by myself to the therapist to try to figure out how I got to where I am and how I could find happiness. And um, at some point, my therapist suggested I might want to take medication. And I wasn't aware that I was anxious. I'd been aware that I was depressed in the past, but I wasn't aware of any current depression at that time. And I wasn't aware of anxiety. I was just aware of being me. And she said, well, "Why don't you try some medication?" I said, "Well," I'm thinking, why would I try medication? What do I need medication for? But I'm the kind of person that if I pay an expert, if I'm going to bother to pay an expert, then I'm going to take their advice. If I'm not willing to take their advice, I won't go. So I'll give it, the old college try. And I took her advice, and she prescribed a small amount of SSRI, which is anxiety, depression, classic medication that they use today. Can't remember which one it was. And started taking it. And that was the beginning of a changing of my life. That medication changed my life. It was the beginning. The first thing I noticed after a few days is that I didn't feel the buzz anymore. By buzz, I didn't even know I felt it. It was like there was this buzz in my side, um, like somebody had a little electric wire attached to me, and it was always buzzing. And I wasn't aware of this because it had always been there. When I became aware of it is when it was silent. Suddenly the buzz was gone, and I'm like, "What's missing? Wait a minute, there used to be like a buzz here," and that buzz was gone. And I started to feel less tight. My muscles were less tight. Um, Basically, I felt a break from the perpetual tension, muscle tension, because these emotional states they exist deep in your psyche, and you carry them in your body, and you feel them, and they exhaust you. They make you tired, and you don't know why. They make any of your physical efforts more difficult because you're working against, it's like working with machinery that doesn't have any grease on it, or that is actually pushing against you while you're trying to push it forward, it's pushing back. That's the way our body works when it's full of tension. And this medication helped to relax some of that tension, essentially. And it also helped to make my mind much more efficient. I never read books before then. I didn't read books because I couldn't. It took too long. I had a hard time. It took me forever to read, and I didn't know why. And after I started taking this medication, it wasn't a lot. I could sit down and read, and I actually read some material like fiction for the first time and enjoyed fiction. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've always enjoyed movies and things like that fictionally. And I still love, and to this day, I enjoy listening to books. But for the first time, I was able to read books and enjoy them, just reading. And what it meant was that my brain had been kind of locked up. I had a chemical imbalance. Why? I don't know. Maybe it was from the trauma. Maybe it was inherited. It certainly could have come from my mom's family. But suddenly my synapses in my brain were working more efficiently. The data was transferring more smoothly. And as a result, I could do things more easily than I couldn't do before. It was like putting oil on lubricating gears and lubricating hinges and things. And this one action, this one willingness to listen, to help, and to take advice and to try something, and not just say, "Oh no, yes, that's not going to work," because I was sure I had no need for it. I just never imagined any need for taking medication or psychological medication or nerve medication, whatever we want to call it. Um, and It changed my life from then on. Ever since that day, I have been on a nonstop process of improving myself and improving my life. I still take some medication, but medication is not my primary approach. It's just sort of a supplement. And I've come so far, and you can too. And that's what this channel is about. This channel is about reaching out to people who feel stuck, who feel tired, who feel heavy, who are carrying weight that they don't even know they're carrying, but they've always been carrying it, who can't seem to be happy, um, who want to believe in the future but really don't, who don't see any hope. Um, I've found a path, and perhaps this path could work for you. So I'm hoping it can. It was suggested to me that I should share my story by people I've worked with who said, "Bill, you really need to share this. People can grow, people can learn. This could help a lot of people." So that's why I'm here. And if it does help you, that'll make me feel good. Um, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but I hope it does. So anyway, that's what this channel is about. What I would like to do is to focus on one subject, one area, one each time, each snippet, where we talk about whether it's the medication or whether we talk about other things that I've done, biohacking, um, working with counselors, working with coaches, going to self-help seminars and things of that nature, physical exercise, whatever it is. We can have a snippet where we talk a bit about that. I can talk about my experiences and what it meant to me, perhaps what options are open to you, and just to encourage you to have an open mind and to try, just to try and see what happens. Um, have an open mind. So I hope this makes a difference for you. And I look forward to seeing you here next time. And see you then.